Welcome, everybody. Welcome to. We're. To stay connected to your spiritual family here at CSLDallas. So let's get it started by joining our
I feel strong inside. I feel awake and alive. Blessed and alive. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart. Hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. I feel strong inside. I feel awake and alive. Blessed and alive. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I feel strong inside. I feel awake and alive. Blessed and alive. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hands. Open up to have love, love, love.
Well, good morning. Welcome to CSL Dallas. Welcome to CSL Dallas Online. We are delighted to be with you and to celebrate this morning as we move into the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend and to celebrate social and spiritual disruption, making sacred, making disruption sacred. What a fabulous topic we're going to be talking about today. All right, we'd like to welcome you. I'm Dr. Petra I seem to be doing a lot of things. We have the lovely Sherry Wood who's going to be doing our treatment, which is really great. And it's the one-woman show today. We're so grateful that we have our music team here with us as well. All right, so Let's see. Oh, and part of the reason I'm a one-woman show is because Reverend Karen is still out taking her beautiful photographs of cranes, sandhill cranes and snow geese. And she is, and we have also a number of people still out with COVID. We do expect to be back in person and online in February 1st, but we'll let you know. Please, please stay healthy and well, get vaccinated, wear your mask. All right, we are also in person on Wednesday nights. So bring your mask, come be with us on Wednesday nights in person for your in-person fix. Please check with your circle leaders, your Sangha leaders, and your class leaders to know whether you're online or in person. All right, so we'd love to have you put in the chat where you're watching from, where in the world you might be watching us from. And then please check into your favorite social media. Any place where you like to go out there, check in and let them know you're at CSL Dallas. And we would love to have you like any of the pages and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which helps promote CSL Dallas. So when somebody is looking for something like us, we pop up higher. We get higher recognition the more that you subscribe and like. So if you are part of this community and you love what we do, please, please, please do these things for us. It helps us get the word out. All right, and this is what we're about. So those of you at home, you can say it out loud with us right here in the sanctuary. We are radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, transforming lives. That's what we're about. That's what we're up to. And this year, we are taking that up in a whole new way. So, are you determined to handle life from a spiritual point of view no matter what? Ooh, man, and we've had a lot of no matter whats, haven't we? Then we get in classes. Classes are another way to do this. We have circles, sanghas, we have Wednesday nights, we have Sundays, but classes is where you dive in and go a little deeper. It's also where you build community, get to know people in a whole new way. So we have a class starting this week with the lovely and talented Sherry Wood, our practitioner, Create the Life of Your Dreams. So we'll be exploring those things that we call universal principles and spiritual practices that you can put into use in your life. If you've always wanted to know, is there a list of spiritual principles? Yes, actually there is. And Sherry's going to be talking about that. And to help keep you move forward through all of this sacred disruption that you are experiencing, that we're all experiencing, which practices can we pull out to really make our lives smooth and more spiritually grounded as we go through all these disruptions. It's a 5-week course that begins this Tuesday. So in just a couple days at 7:30, and it is online only. Please 7 p.m. Did I not say that? Oh, 7 p.m. No, it's 7 p.m. My note is incorrect. Thank you very much. And it's online only. So please do register. If you are new to the Science of Mind or CSL Dallas and you want to know a little bit more about that and metaphysics and what it is that we do in New Thought, we have our exploratory courses are called the Keys. There are 3 different ones. You can take them together or separately. And in February, we have a new one starting. It's called the Keys to Expanding Consciousness, which will explore what we mean by this word consciousness that gets bannered around in so many different ways and places. And of course, we all want to learn how to live more consciously. It's a 2-Saturday course for a few hours on a Saturday afternoon, so you can sign up on our website. We also have one coming up in February called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, which is another deep practical application for those of you who are relatively new to Science of Mind and want to start your class journey. This is a foundational type course, so you would start with Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, or you can start with Sherry's course on spiritual principles, Create the Life of Your Dreams. Register for all of this online at CSLDallas.org, and you'll see the whole schedule of courses for the year. So we love being in community with you, whether it's in person or online. We love knowing that we can be connected across the internet. It is truly an amazing connection that we experience, not unlike the connection of Mother Earth through every ecosystem. We are, in fact, connected, whether we're in the same room or not. So let's connect together with heart, with mind, with spirit, and with each other as we go within with this opportunity to be together.
invite you to go within, wherever you are, knowing that right where you are in this very moment, that the one love, the one source of life itself, is flowing in, as, and through you and each one of us on this planet in this very moment, without exception. So as we come together this morning, it is from that place of this infinite web of life itself that holds and connects all of humanity together. And that each one of us is that point of light, of that opportunity for spirit to express uniquely through each one of us. So this morning, as we open our hearts to allow that flow of life as unfolding love, as unfolding peace, as unfolding harmony, lifting each and every one of us up, knowing that truly no one is left out or left behind. Each one is valued. Each one is needed. Each one's gifts are called forward in this very moment. So how good it is to know this truth, to stand in this truth, to open to this truth, releasing anything in the human condition that seems like an obstacle or division, knowing that that boundless, unconditional love is the antidote to any hate, knowing that that peace is the antidote to any chaos or confusion, and standing in that place, knowing that each one of us is that love and is that peace. So in this moment, we simply let it be, and we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.
Spirit, flow through me as I open up to thee, an expression of your unfolding peace. Show, Spirit, show through me as I open up to thee, an expression of your unfolding
Lovely. Thank you so much. You guys sound fabulous. It's truly lovely to be here today on Martin Luther King Day this weekend. And I saw a bumper sticker the other day on a car that said, "I can't believe I'm still protesting all this stuff." Yeah. Can you believe it? Right? Whatever it is. Martin Luther King really helped us move forward in the civil rights and with our Black and African American brothers and sisters, people of color, and helped wake us up. And we continue to be woken up in ways that are confrontive, disruptive, uncomfortable, and exactly and precisely what is necessary for us to live the dream that Martin Luther King imagined. Ooh. That's what it means to reimagine everything, to be able to stand there and say, I have a dream even though I don't see it. I dream it, I imagine it, and therefore I expect it. So we stand in that place. We stand with that dream. We stand in that dream, not as a wish, not as a hope, but as an expectation for humanity to wake up. It's spiritual magnificence. We recognize that the science mind is a liberation theology. We should be liberated from our unconscious biases, our belief in superiority, our belief in differences that somehow make one person better than the other, or that in any way keep us from recognizing our common humanity and our deep oneness in our spiritual truth. Kirby's going to sing a song for us.
There's a world at war, caught in suffering, citing casualties. Oh God, grant us peace in these sleepless nights. I can hardly breathe, despite brutality. I know that we'll be free. Yes, we'll all be free.
So let the lighting keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free.
In these desperate times, love will hold us here. When we see no brothers, oh, then not no fear. So we lay our hate down to wash their feet. When we see our brother, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free.
So let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. So let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. We are free, free. Yes, we're all free. We're all free, free. Yes, we're all free. We'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. We'll be free, free, free. We'll all be free. Let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. So let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep it shining.
you so much. Kirby, will you remind me who wrote that song?
That was written by a band called Gunger and an artist named William Matthews.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to our fabulous band, our beautiful music team. Kirby, thank you so much for bringing us that piece of music. That was really beautiful. And of course, here I am weeping over it. And I'm supposed to talk now. I don't know why we do these things to ourselves, but here we go. Whew. That's called being disrupted by the sacred. Right? We should all allow ourselves to be disrupted by the sacred. It is only as we allow ourselves to be disrupted by the sacred that we can, in fact, reimagine everything, which is, of course, our theme for the year. Ooh, man. And we thought the last 2 years was a roller coaster. Wait until what happens when we pick a theme like that and we start trying to live it. Oh, man. It's really fabulous. So, last week, Reverend Karen talked about the disruption of the idea of the sacred, how much new thought in science mind, new physics, new ways of understanding life disrupts an old idea about an anthropomorphized God and reward and punishment, and these ways in which we have tried to keep ourselves being good human beings while we were spiritually maturing. But now we are beginning to spiritually mature and understand that if we want to live a life that expresses spiritual values and spiritual truths, we have to find that for ourselves. And we have to disrupt the old ways of thinking and being, both personally and collectively. So today we're talking about beyond the disruption of the sacred is to actually invite ourselves to make disruption sacred. How can we take the things and the events and the circumstances and the situations in our life that are disruptive as we have been experiencing them and actually invite the sacred into the experience that we may take it up differently and that we may experience it differently? And then ultimately, how do we actually invite sacred disruption? To decide that disruption is actually something that is valuable as opposed to something to be afraid of. So when we decide that disruption is actually something valuable, we are walking in the footsteps of the master teacher. There are many people who will say that Jesus was the great disruptor of spiritual traditions in the West, and Buddha was certainly the great disruptor of the spiritual traditions in the East. It's interesting that 25 years ago, there was actually a new business model or business understanding that came out of the Harvard Business School called disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation. And the value of disruption really allows for incredible creativity and possibility to emerge. And then actually, there's something really powerful about being the disruptive force or the disruptor. Now, in Western philosophies, in science, and especially in our Western religions, well, actually, quite truthfully, a lot of religions, we don't really embrace disruption. We don't embrace it. It's bad, it's evil, and it is to be feared. And yet we find that in Western mythology, in many Eastern religions, in the indigenous and fertility spiritualities, in ecology, in liberation theology, in all of these ways, there is a reclaiming of the feminine that actually allows us to embrace disruption. And it's so fascinating that these two things inevitably go together. Where the feminine has been relegated to the side or denied altogether, disruption is made bad, evil, wrong, something to be feared and avoided. In those traditions and mythologies that embrace the feminine in a powerful way, understand disruption very differently. So today we're going to be inspired by some things from the Hindu tradition to begin with. And so in all spiritual traditions, there is generally a trinity. In the Hindu tradition is no different. We have the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is the creative deity, the creative force and power. Vishnu is the preserver, that which maintains and sustains life. The Hindus have a deep recognition and understanding of the importance of sustainability and resilience. And this is part of the Vishnu energy of the preserver. And then they actually really truthfully understand that there is a spiritual reality to Shiva, which is the destroyer, the change agent. That which is growing also dies. On the physical plane, there are the cycles and seasons of life. It's so interesting that in our Judeo-Christian culture, the destroyer is either a vengeful God, think Sodom and Gomorrah, think the Great Flood, things like that, or the devil, tempting us off the path and keeping us from our best possible selves. And yet nature teaches us otherwise. These cycles of life teach us about the regeneration that comes. I remember when I first started learning, I went to a University of Washington for environmental science. In my first ecology class, we went out to the rainforests on the Olympic Peninsula. Truly one of the most magical places on the face of the planet. And as we would hike through the rainforest, we would see these trees that would, I'm going to just put this down here so I don't have to keep carrying it. We see these trees that were lined up in a row as if they had been planted. And I remember the professor saying, look at that, isn't that amazing? Well, all of those trees, what happened is a giant tree fell, and as it decomposed, it became what's called a nurse log. A nurse log. As it was decomposing, it created the perfect place for seedlings to drop into, have exactly what they needed, and out of this giant tree that had given its life, that had died, 10 other trees were growing and replacing one tree with this beautiful nursery of saplings and growth and life. We see this after the spring flood or the autumn leaves, right? The spring flood, not the flooding that we get due to climate change, but the normal spring flooding brings lush nutrients to the soil. The autumn leaves create a huge, beautiful humus, which turns into some of the most beautiful earth into which the seeds fall and luxurious ecosystems grow again. Each of these places of death and destruction become the most fertile places for new life to grow, which is why in the Hindu tradition there's this profound respect and understanding of Shiva, of the destroyer. Now, it's interesting that in this pantheon of deities, which of course we know are simply representations of the different faces of the one, Shiva has a consort, Kali, and Kali is the mother of destruction and death. She is considered the place of chaos. She is the consort of Shiva and is the most powerful feminine image that we have in any world tradition. Actually, Shiva doesn't do the destroying at all. It is actually the power of Kali that brings about the destruction which allows for regeneration. I have a beautiful statue of Shiva at home, and most of the people that come to my home don't like it. She's scary. She's ferocious. She's all black metal, very hard, very strong, very powerful. Kali is fearsome. She is shown as black, standing over the white corpse of her consort Shiva, who is inert without her power. Without the feminine power, Shiva cannot do his work. Now, interestingly enough, she generally has 4 arms, representing the 4 directions of space. Now, I don't actually know what the 4 directions of space are. I know about the X, Y, and Z axis. I don't know if the 4th dimension in this particular understanding is time, or if there's another 4th dimension I don't know about, the square that becomes the cube. I'm not really sure. It's something really worth thinking about. However, not to get lost on the tangent, on these 4 arms, one hand holds a sword, the power of destruction. Another, a severed head, to show the living their destiny. What is our destiny as human beings? It is death. It is physical death. But she has a 3rd hand that is the attitude to remove fear, and the 4th that bestows bliss. How interesting. Vishnu says in the Upanishads about Kali, maternal cause of all change, manifestation, and destruction. The whole universe rests upon her, rises out of her, and melts into her. From her crystallize the original elements and qualities which construct the apparent world. She is both mother and grave. The gods themselves are merely constructs out of her maternal substance, which is both consciousness and potential joy. When have you ever heard of the divine feminine or the divine mother described that way? Marcus Borg, in his books on meeting Jesus again for the first time and reading the Bible again for the first time, he talks about how important in the very early Hebrew traditions of creation, there is this other aspect of God that is actually spoken about in the ancient Hebrew in the feminine, and it is in the Greek translated into Sophia, which means wisdom, which is the wisdom that brings the absolute creative force into physical manifestation. Without Sophia, there is no creation. There is no physical world. There is no expression without Sophia. But somewhere along the line, this whole idea gets lost. So I pulled out another description about Kali, which I really, really loved. Kali is the ferocious Hindu deity of illuminating darkness, a destroyer of illusions. Her ruthless compassion cuts through our obliviousness to how things really are. Isn't that what it is to look at our unconscious biases, to recognize the ways in which we are not paying attention to how our actions impact others or the earth, to cut through. The ruthless compassion cuts through our obliviousness to how things really are. On the spiritual path, Kali uses shakeups and transformations to destroy the subject-object consciousness and restore our intimacy with all things. To cut through the intellectualizing, the rationalizing, the categorizing, the thinking that we understand. To embrace a direct experience and intimacy with all things. Her path to liberation is swift and challenging. Kali Ma represents a fierce advocacy for justice for all. So I love that. I have the woman's name who wrote that. I have another bit I'm going to read to you, so I will tell you who she is. But it is so amazing that this incredible divine mother figure has been so relegated to the side and left out in so many ways. And so what's so fascinating about Kali is that she is simultaneously the divine mother, both the place of destroyer, destruction. The Christians call her the mother of disease. And yet she is also the bringer of life, fertile, and the representation of fertility. She is the most powerful feminine image of the divine in all the world religions. She began in the Indus Valley in a fertility spirituality and was embraced by Hinduism in all of her fullness and all of her glory. She does live in that original trinity from the Hindu tradition. Because Kali is so associated with death and destruction, we completely overlook this idea of the divine feminine, the divine mother aspect of her. Why? Because it's really hard to imagine and to think about the divine feminine as a destroyer, isn't it? We think of the father as either protector or punisher, and we like to think of the mother as nothing but nurturing and supportive. That's what it means to anthropomorphize our gods and make them into our own image, what we want and need. But when we look at the mother in all of her fullness, we recognize that the divine mother, the power of the feminine, is not just Eve. Right? Eve gave us the idea that the feminine is the temptress. She's the one to blame. And we grow up with the idea of the feminine being either the Madonna or the whore. Right? She's either the virgin or she's the sex kitten you take to bed. But the minute she becomes wife and mother, she's no longer interesting, desirable. She's certainly not sexy in any way, and therefore is less valued and less valuable. But the indigenous people and the people of the fertility traditions and the people who embrace Kali recognize that there is a power in the divine feminine. Think of the mother bear who ferociously protects her cubs. Think of all of the ways in which Marianne Williamson brought the idea of love into the political spectrum as she talked. The fierceness of love that will protect others who are unable to protect themselves, or who are in a systemic situation and unable to protect themselves, or our planet that is struggling to find ways to protect itself, although isn't doing so bad in protecting itself, is it? This power of the divine feminine is the very opposite of the martyred, sacrificial mother that I grew up with, right? I grew up with that when you cook and you put the food out, you always reserve the smallest piece to yourself. You give everybody else the good stuff, and if there's anything burnt, right, you take it. Because you're the cook and you're the mom, and that's just what you do. You suck it up. Right? Think of all the women who are leaving our workplaces in droves because of the issues with childcare, because they're tired of sucking it up. They're tired of working and coming home and taking care of the kids and having to figure all of that out all at the same time. And all of the sacrifices, and not just women. This is a cultural thing that we learn how to do. We learn how to sacrifice our own power, our own need and desire for our lives in service to something. We'll talk about what that something is in a minute. So when we reclaim the power of the divine feminine, even men and women, right? This isn't about being a woman creating and claiming the divine feminine. This is all of us claiming the divine feminine. We reclaim our disowned outrage, our childhood grief at having to sacrifice our health or safety or dignity to placate the adults around us. Oh man, I raised my hand on that one. I was the peacemaker in the family. My father would rage. My mother would try to figure out what to do. She would abdicate. I was the peacemaker. We're going to be nice, and I was taught to be nice. Good little girls, they're nice, and boys are supposed to be nice too. So while we're at it, let's reclaim our quirks, our special needs, our gifts, our inborn vocations that were and still are the beauty, our beauty and our power. Your uniqueness lives in your bones, the same bones that hold your shape, that are like the bones of the forest, which are the beautiful trees that we see so beautifully etched against the sky in winter. And when I have known my own outrage and taken myself back, do you see that I can stand with and for yours? And your outrage no longer frightens me. And I am willing to embrace the disruption that your outrage brings, that we can be in that place of tolerating the disruption when others say this is not okay, and they say it with rage when injustice happens. These are the things that allow us to disrupt business as usual. We don't disrupt a business as usual by simply reasonably, spiritually acquiescing to what is, but by claiming the power to create true change. We speak about it. True change is transformation. You can change things, but they can change back. The ultimate disruption that you see in the natural world, the ultimate disruption is the butterfly. The caterpillar has been utterly and completely disrupted. The entire body liquefies, the head pops off, and then the imaginal cells take over. And that which emerges from the cocoon is totally unrelated to that which built the cocoon in the first place. That is about as disrupted as you can get. And do we not prize that transformation, the beauty of the butterfly as it soars off into its own life? Without disruption, that butterfly cannot experience its own transformation. So I'm going to read a last little piece from this, from Vanessa Tarakali. The pieces I've been reading to you are from her. These invitations deserve to be met with a robust presence that is willing to be changed. This is the invitation to sacred disruption. To access this robustness, I need to know I will fight for me. I need to know I have my own back and that I will insist that my needs are acknowledged. Knowing that I will fight for myself has given me more internal room, more relaxed, spacious room to welcome disruption of my business as usual, my status quo. And you need to know that you will fight for you. But it's not just about fighting, it's also about grieving. We must have room to grieve having been sacrificed and abandoned. Grief brings business as usual to a standstill, as it should. As it must if this planet is to survive. Reclaiming our willingness to fight and grieve for ourselves enables more resilient responses to sacred disruptions, whether by activists, spiritual people, or by children. If our planet is to survive, people with disabilities, forgotten people, disposable peoples, island people, walruses and bees are screaming, wailing, pounding at the smug, violent, oblivious culture to stop. Stop killing us all. And of course, we have to stop killing ourselves. I told Karen when I was getting ready to work on this talk that I hate it when I have to talk about things that I have to remember myself. The rest of this talk here, this is all for me. You can listen in. Feel free to listen in. But I need to be reminded of these things. So, how do we make disruption sacred? How do we embrace the power of Kali in our own lives? Embrace sacred disruption, make it sacred, or actually invite it in the first place? Well, there are 3 words that I'm going to present to you that I have spent 20 years making friends with. Still working on it. Still working on it. Ambiguity, uncertainty, and the unknown. Now, as spiritual people, we like to seek certainty and security. We want proof that God is there and that if we will do a certain thing, then we're good and right and all is well with the world and therefore favored by God. Yeah. Well, it's great. That works for children. Works for the grandchildren. They need a certain amount of safety and security provided by somebody else, but then we grow up and we begin to spiritually mature. The truth is, moving without certainty and security in the human world, because there is an understanding and trust of the nature of reality, is true spirituality. Not to try to manage the conditions of the world so that there is outer safety and security and certainty, but to recognize that it lives as the truth of our very being. Because the physical human world is always changing. There's nothing that's secure, permanent, or guaranteed in the human realm, in the realm of the physical world. It is a great uncertainty. That's how we have to learn how to walk through life. That's why we live a spiritual faith. I remember years ago, the first time I had this conversation in a coaching session with a woman, and I was just really beginning to get a clue that I had gone on a spiritual path because I wanted the guarantee that I was right, that I was okay, and that everything was going to turn out okay. You know, I mean, I love Hallmark movies, and I want to know that there's going to be a happy ending. And if it doesn't have a happy ending, I don't want to watch the movie. But the happy ending isn't in the world itself. It is in the way in which we engage with the world, the place from which we engage. And the thing I remember talking about in this coaching session is, how do I know? How do I know it's going to work out okay? How do I know I'm doing the right thing? How do I know? How do I know? And my answer to her, you don't. You don't know. You don't know. But we're going to talk about that is the place right there where we truly step into our spiritual faith, our deep and profound trust. So how do we do that? Ambiguity. Ambiguity means there's no right answer. Ambiguity means, by definition, that that has many meanings. And so what we can do, what we are allowed to do, what we are enjoined to do, is to choose the meaning that we choose, not to look for the right answer. I can't tell you how many people come to me for coaching and they say, should I stay in this relationship or should I go? Well, unless you're being actively abused in some form or fashion, my answer is always the same. If you stay, you will learn and grow. If you go, you will learn and grow. Which do you choose? There's no right answer. Our intuition, dreams, and signs, people will say, how do I know? Is it me or is it my ego? How do I know? We don't know. The ambiguity is that we choose the meaning. We decide what it means. Moving with uncertainty is a profound act of faith. There is no guarantee, but there is the recognition that if we will allow the universe to unfold, and that we recognize that life is emerging and evolving through us, and we stay focused on the end result, the likelihood of us moving in that direction is way more, way better, and the universe rallies around to support us. What we want is certainty in the how. We don't get to have that. What we get to have is certainty in the what. That life is for us. That the universe does actually support the things that we desire and that we seek to be a part of and that we seek to create. But the how is where that uncertainty comes in. I love the Buddhist saying that when you decide to go on a path, when you step out, the path rises to meet your foot. What we want to do is see the path laid out. Oh, that's the path. Oh, I'm just going to walk it. No. No, we don't know what the path is. What we know is that when we step out, the path rises to meet our foot. That's what we know. And so this place of the unknown is what they call beginner's mind. The beginner's mind, to not know. I can remember when I was working at CSL in an international organization. I was the chair of the new core council. We'd gone through a big, giant reorganization, and I was at the convention that year, and people were saying, well, what about this? Well, I don't know. Well, what are we going to do about that? No, I don't know. Well, how are we going to handle this? Well, I don't know. We're going to make it up. We're smart. We have the divine intelligence and wisdom of the universe. We'll figure it out. And I actually had other people in leadership that say, will you stop saying you don't know? Why? Why should I stop saying I don't know? Beginner's mind invites us into new ideas, new opportunities, and a deep and profound trust that the inspiration will come, the possibilities will show themselves, we will experiment with things, some of them will work, some of them won't, but we will learn and grow rather than needing things to be a certain way. So to make our disruption sacred, we have to take it to the altar of our spirituality. We have to take it to the altar of our spirituality and assume that there is something here for us. We invite revelation. What is here for us? What new intuition, new understanding, new idea? To expect learning. To learn to be a certain way, speak a certain way, do a new thing, and then to practice. Disruption invites us into the deepest practice. That's certainly been true for me in the last couple of years. How do you get through the pandemic? How do you get through all of this? How is it that CSLDallas is stable and thriving? Because we have practiced and practiced and practiced, living in faith, living in trust, letting it be okay that we don't know, being in the chaos of it, and allowing creativity to come forward, letting things die around us and be destroyed, and finding the new. To invite sacred disruption into our lives is to confront our own complacency, our comfort, our need for convenience, the willingness, the ways in which we accommodate others, and the belief about how life is supposed to be, the status quo, and our own willingness to be inauthentic, to live inside a box, to live inside an acceptable way of being. To invite disruption that is sacred, to really invite sacred disruption, is to recognize that these things are the things that stand in the way of the new fertile life that is seeking to grow, not only in our own lives, but in humanity as a whole and on our planet. To allow ourselves to see how much we hold on to these things. You could write this list down and every day ask yourself, do I not want to do that because I'm more comfortable not doing it? Does it feel inconvenient? I can remember being in a relationship. We never went anywhere and we never did anything because it was just, so inconvenient to pack for camping, and it was so inconvenient to decide to, where we were going to go or what we were going to do. Everything was inconvenient, and it was too challenging. Inviting sacred disruption invites us into our spiritual awakening. It invites us to create new personal habits. It forces us to look at our unconscious biases, the ways in which we are damaging our environment, the ways in which we are colluding with the status quo of power and wealth, and the ways in which we are not paying attention to equity and inclusion. These are the things that need to be disrupted. And I love that we're talking about this on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. What a powerful expression of disruption. No, we won't not sit in the front of the bus anymore. No, we won't not sit on the lunch counter anymore. No, we will march together because this is not okay. That's what sacred disruption means. Not fight for the sake of fight, not argument for the sake of my opinion, not an unwillingness to be moved, but a profound recognition that there is a larger reality that we're a part of, and that our job is to bring that larger reality into being through us. Kali is the most powerful divine mother in any faith tradition around the world and across the ages. Her 4 arms, the first one with the sword, destroys only ignorance, false ideas, and egoic desires, not unlike the sword of compassion that Kuan Yin wields that no one ever wants to talk about. The only thing permanent is change. So when we embrace change and growth, we are allowing death of ourselves, of the status quo, of the things that keep us comfortable, of the ways we've always done things, all of those things. We are allowing things to die. Kali bestows the strength to bear life, to not be afraid. Birthing is hard and messy work, and she promises that each one of us is strong enough and equal to bear the life that we are seeking and that we choose to birth. And she wants only the best, the hand of bliss, that the universe supports you and always has your back. That power and passion are the things that create change that is truly fulfilling. Whether we are raising a child, building a sustainable business, making a difference in social justice, creating lives that work, and a world that works. Reimagine everything starts with a willingness to disrupt those things that are standing in the way. I really, really invite you to this work. This is the work that we're up to, and this is the work that we've always been up to, but this year we're making it very explicit. Let's disrupt the things that stand in our way, that stand in the way of humanity, that we can awaken to our spiritual magnificence, individually and collectively. The world needs us. We need us. We need each other, and we need ourselves. And so it is. Breathe for a minute, because I really needed to listen to that talk. I hope you did too. We want so desperately for everything to be the same, or could it just return to normal? Thinking that's a no. And if it did return to normal, that would be bad, because everything would just get worse. So that's what we're up to here at CSL Dallas, and we are here to support each other on the path, on the road, to hold each other's hands, to empower, and to make a place where we can do this together. So we are inviting you to participate by being a part of the CSL Dallas community, by contributing, by supporting the work. So let's say our abundance affirmation together as we get prepared for our offering. At the beginning of this new year, I remember that I am completely and fully supported by a loving, kind, and powerful universe that is infinite and expansive. I experience perfect abundance and prosperity in every area of my life. I may have to let go of the things that are standing in the way, though. All right, so we'd like to invite you to support this work. We're doing it individually, collectively, as a community, in all the ways that we can think of. Every single class that we do, every opportunity that we have to be together is an opportunity to go deeper into this. Many ways to give. You can give by using the QR code on your screen. You can text give to the number on your screen, or you can go to csldallas.org/give. Please do give generously. We really, really love being in community with you. So before we move on and we close out, do you consider CSL Dallas your community, your spiritual home? Whether you live in Dallas or the DFW Metroplex, or whether you live somewhere in the U.S. or around the world. If you do, we want you to consider becoming a member of CSL Dallas and stake your claim. Come be a part of the tribe. To find out about the benefits and responsibilities of membership, join our new member orientation coming on Saturday, January 29th. So that is this coming Saturday? 2 Saturdays from now. 2 Saturdays from now from 10 to 2:30. It's free, both in person and online. And you'll have an opportunity to find out about being a member here at CSL Dallas. We would really, really love you to join us. If not, please subscribe, like our Facebook page, be a part of our community in whatever way that you can be a part of it. If you love working with the littlest ones and some of our older kids, we do have some opportunities for volunteering in Joy Village. Joy Village will be opening, if not the 1st of February, very soon. We're looking for a nursery teacher 2 Sundays a month, a 4th and 6th grade teacher 2 Sundays a month. Both of those have a partner that will take the other Sundays, and we're looking for a teen advisor. These all have a small stipend, and you can talk to me or reach out to info@csldallas.org, and we'll make sure it gets to the exact place. If you're not interested in a long-term commitment, let us know if you'd like to be a substitute or just volunteer in Joy Village. As always, our licensed spiritual coaches are available directly after this. They'll be in the Zoom room. The link is being put out there on your chat. And once you get into the Zoom room, you're put into a private room with a spiritual coach who will help you explore the disruptions in your life and how you can make them sacred, or what sacred disruptions you might actually want to invite into your life. And they will do deep spiritual work with you. So we love having you online with us. We love having you all here. Thank you so much to the team that's making this possible. Let us sing this out with Love Can Move the World.